14th of May. My name is Kalle and from W.E.T here in the K17 Berlin. Next to me, sitting Jazz called Soto, a wonderful singer. Nice to meet you.
And you. It's great to be back in Berlin. Don't listen to what's going on out there. It's just a bunch of noise.
Just a sound check from the other band. You played for the first time with a headliner show here in Berlin, right?
Yes. It's actually no. The first time I was here was I want to go back to maybe 2005, but it was one of the first tours I was doing in and this far east of Europe and Germany, and there weren't too many people this night. And part of it was they booked us in one place, they closed the place like a week and a half before the gig and moved it to another, but a lot of people didn't know where it was moved. It was a big catastrophe, so we played in front of maybe 30 people. It was,
I think it was a Knark Club you have to play, and the Knark Club was closed.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So, really nice club, but it will open in a few months. A new club with the same capacity. Okay. Really great.
Yeah, it was a fun night. When you have a bad situation, especially my band, we always know how to turn it around, and at least the people who do come, they don't suffer from it. We always turn it into a positive. So we had a fun night. It was a very good memory, actually.
Yeah. And you're coming here to Berlin with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yes.
Many times. Really great show. You have to watch. It's fantastic, awesome. And how was it for you to play in a band and to play in a next band and another project and to remember all these songs?
Yeah, well, with TSO, it's a little easier. It's a little lighter of a workload for me. I don't sing as many songs as I do with my band, of course. But of course, it's great for me because I get different experiences and I get to see and meet different fans because my fans aren't always the same as Trans-Siberian Orchestra and vice versa. So it's great to be able to blend and meet new people, and maybe even draw them in and into the different things. Maybe TSO has new fans because of what I'm doing with my stuff, and maybe I have some new fans because of Trans-Siberian.
And also the other bands you played in, Journey, actually W.E.T and everything going on. You played so many bands, but can you remember the first band you ever played in?
Oh. It would have probably been one of the many garage bands that I had with my brother when we were just kids. I mean, my brother's a drummer, and we were in every band together until I was 18 years old. So the very first one, I think I was 12. I was actually the keyboard player, and I sang background. And the first gig that we were supposed to play, the singer couldn't make it. So immediately I was put in the front as a singer. And the next week they fired him, and I was the singer at 12 years old. So I think I was 12.
What was the name of the band?
Oh, geez. Yeah, you got me there. I can't remember.
No?
No. It's a foggy memory.
That's a problem when you sing in too many bands. So that's it. So now play in just one band and you don't never forget it.
Yeah. And everybody else won't forget it. They'll remind you as well.
Yeah. And was it the first gig you ever played when you switched on to a singer? Or did you play some gigs before?
Yeah, I think that was the first real gig. I mean, we did some just jamming for friends and stuff like that, but that was a gig at my middle school. So it was, the bell rang, it was lunchtime, and everybody's coming into the auditorium to see us play. So that was my first real gig, yeah.
And how does it come that you listen to the rock and metal music? Was it influenced by the parents or by your brother, or? Mainly
by my brother, because I grew up listening to only soul music, R&B, black music. I listened to pop, AM radio, all the one-hit wonder singles. That was my world.
Okay.
And I hated rock when my brother was getting into Cheap Trick and Kiss and stuff like that. I hated it. I didn't like it at all. But it was bands that actually had the R&B influence in them, like Toto, for instance, Journey. They had singers who had that R&B kind of singing, even Foreigner with Lou Gramm. And that's what inspired me to love rock music, because you can infuse soul and rock together, and that's what these guys were doing. And then, of course, my brother brought in things like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and I started going that direction. So you always follow your older brother, and that's how I got into hard rock and heavy metal.
When you see your brother, good choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And you played in a band, in school bands, many bands. You played in other bands. Is it for you difficult to sing so many different genres, like soul, like rock, like metal?
The difficult thing is to not do it. The difficult thing is to just do one thing and not be able to do all the other things, because, as I just said, I was more influenced by soul and black music, and then to only sing hard rock and heavy metal, I missed that side of what I was influenced by growing up. But I think if I only sang that, I would miss the hard rock and heavy metal side. It's kind of why I found unique ways of infusing the two with my solo stuff, for instance, of course. But even with things like Talisman, I was able to infuse a kind of soulful R&B direction, even though it was still hard rock music.
So when you're practicing everything, how many different kind of singing you can do?
Practicing?
Yeah.
Who has time for practice?
So you were never practicing?
Well, yeah, of course. I practiced when I was very young, but my practice is mainly consisted of just singing songs of my favorite bands, and it wasn't about when you're trying to emulate the songs that you love, trying to emulate the singers that you love. That's more of the lesson, as opposed to practicing and practicing something that's sheet music. My practicing was listening to the radio and singing along and trying to sound like Steve Perry, trying to sound like Freddie Mercury, trying to sound like Sam Cooke. You know, everywhere from the R&B to Bruce Dickinson. You know, it's such a wide span of from black music to Rob Halford. It's huge. So to try to emulate all these different things, you naturally start channeling those things when you're doing your own thing.
So you're the typical singer who starts singing in a bathroom under the shower.
And never stop.
Yeah, it's a good practicing. You have the water, you have like the crowd who's screaming.
And the good sound of the bathroom, because the tiles make that nice natural reverb.
It depends which bathroom you got.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, many studios, especially in Hollywood, they have rooms that are just with tiles, the same that they use in bathrooms, to create that effect. So you have a microphone in that tile room, you send the vocal through there, and you just hear that natural bathroom reverb, and you can put as much or as little as you want. It's amazing.
Okay. You're recording most of the songs you do in Hollywood, or do you go to some other countries and recording there?
At this day and age, with the technology, my recordings are done wherever I happen to be. We could work on a new song today. I have my microphone and my laptop. I could do it right here backstage. Okay. I do most of it at home. You don't have to travel anymore. Everything's all digital and technical, and you just send everybody the files, and it's easier to do these days.
Okay, so you're creative on tour to get the ideas for the new songs and melodies and everything.
It depends on the tour. I mean, something like TSO requires a lot of, as you said, remembering lyrics and learning new songs, getting ready for things you don't already know.
And you keep an eye on the fire who's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to work on things when I feel the most creative instead of forcing them.
Okay. Then when you're on tour and you have the choice, the possibility to see your own show, I mean, like TSO or W.E.T or with your own band, you stand in the crowd and see your own show. How would you describe your show?
Energy, majestic, and giving it every last drop of what you have.
And it doesn't matter how many people stand in the front.
Doesn't matter. It's all about, if somebody went out of their way, whether they came from up the street or they drove 500 kilometers to come and see you, they made the effort for you. They took money they could have put on something else to come and see you. So you want to give them everything that they're expecting to see. And if you give them anything less, then you're not worthy of having them there. Yeah.
That's the reason why I like this guy. He got the passion in your heart. You hear it in every voice. Tone of every voice you got. So really, really fantastic. And I appreciate it to see the show tonight. That's really fantastic.
Looking forward to it.
How important is a light show for you when you do the songs? When you're on stage, you don't have every time the light technique the same. So the people who do the light have to hear the songs and go on. But how important is it for you when you're on stage and you play a ballad or you play a rock song? How important is it for you?
Well, it's clearly is not as important as I want it to be, because otherwise I would bring somebody each time. But of course, when we can afford it, when we can afford to have our own lights and our own lighting designer, we make it extremely important because we're able to utilize that for certain songs, for certain scenes. But for a rock show like this, as long as you can see us, that's all I care about. Of course, if the guy wants to get creative and start doing some fun stuff, even more than the more the merrier. But I don't really, at this stage, especially doing these size venues, I don't focus so much on making sure the spectacular is in the light show. It's all about how good the band is and how good we sound, and then the rest will take care of itself.
And after the show, do you sit together and ask and talk about the show and say, hey, this was a mistake there, or that was not so good.
No, not really. Only in the beginning. Maybe the first week we do. I mean, this is only I think we're going into the second or third week of the tour here. In the beginning we do because clearly everybody's thinking a lot and trying to focus on not making mistakes and such. But these days, everybody knows when they stuff up. They know when they hit bad notes. I mean, they will even look at each other on stage and they go, "Yep, I know, I hit that." And so, as long as they're aware that they did mess up, if they're doing it constantly, then we have to discuss it. But for the most part, we don't really talk about the mistakes. We talk about the good stuff.
The typical thing is why people do not practicing or talking about is when they play every time together. They play the first time a week and talk about that, and after the next time, they want to drink.
Yeah.
So they want to be drunk after the show.
I'm lucky like that.
You're not.
I'm lucky that I got these guys that they care more about the actual show. They care about their appearance. They care about even their vocals because there's heavy demand. Everybody in this band to be singing. And most of the guys don't drink, but the ones that do, they'll only do it when we're going into a day off, knowing that they can sleep it off and it won't affect the next day. If we have a show the next day, these guys they barely touch a beer.
Yeah. And how do you get a crowd when you don't know how it is in the USA when the people go to a concert here in Germany? It's really fucking shit when the people go to a concert and stand with a smartphone there and film and do photos. I don't know, how is it in the USA? Is it the same?
It's the same, and it's like everything else that's changing about the music and the scene and the business and etc. You just go with it. You learn how to actually make it part of what you do as opposed to a distraction.
But how do you get the crowd to clap their hands or singing with you? How do you get them when they stand there with their phone?
Yeah, you find your moments, and I know when to find those moments, and I kind of know when to judge the audience and when they're ready for certain things, or especially on a song that I know they're all going to be pulling that out, I'll know to turn it around and make sure they put them down so they can be part of the show.
Oh, so put the best songs in the front to...
No, not necessarily. You just have to read them. When you're up there, you learn your audience each night. You kind of focus and you're absorbing it. Even though I'm putting on a show, I'm also watching what they're doing, how they're reacting. If they look bored, I got to pick it up. If they're too jumpy, I can pull it back because I know I need to save some for the end.
Ah, okay. So you read the concert.
I've been doing this a long time, man.
You're a professional.
Been around the block.
When you go on tour, do you have time to see something from the cities and you are?
Absolutely. I'm not much of a tourist kind of person because I've been doing this for 30 years. Where I've been and where I've seen, and I'm more about relaxing and getting away from it all because all day you're with the guys in the band, you're doing the show, you're with fans, and at some points you just want to shut down from it. So while they're out sightseeing, I just would rather just sit alone and shut down for the day off. But there are places, especially on this tour and last year, we were visiting for the first time. So I'm the first one to lead the charge. Let's go, boys! We're gonna go check out Prague and all these great cities that we've never been to.
Is there a special place you've never been to?
Yeah, there are many that I haven't been to yet, and it's a lot on the agenda that I'm hoping to get to. Russia is one of the biggest ones that I've yet to go to. I've never been to China, so there's a few on the agenda that on my bucket list, so to speak.
You have 30 years left, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff, I would say thank you for the time you take.
My pleasure.
And hope to see you again next time,
My
doing
pleasure.
a longer interview. And enjoy the night.
And you.
Bye.
Ciao.